Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I am a Twin Soul Channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Libra occurring on March 28th, 2021 at 2:48 p.m. if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. And this video is specifically for the Twin Soul Collective. This particular full moon has a lot of relationship themes to it. And so rather than re-break down all of those themes again, because they're certainly very relevant for twin souls at this time, I am going to give you the highlights and then talk a little bit about the journey the planets I read as divine masculine and feminine are on. The big highlight for this full moon is the way it opposes Chiron, Venus, and the Sun. And this opposition is bringing to light a lot of our triggers and a lot of our wounding from that precedes this moment, that precede now. And as these triggers are coming up, you may find that you are really hyper driven to work them out with other people. There's a lot of projection energy at this full moon with Neptune conjunct Mercury. And not only that, but because the moon sits in Libra, which is the partnership sign, there's a real recognition that the trigger is coming from the arena of relationship, most likely relationship with a soulmate or a soul connection or with your divine counterpart. The trigger may be coming from the connection, but the root is not in the connection. And I go in depth and in detail in the light worker energy update for this video for the Ascending Collective. So if you want to really understand how to work with this energy so that it doesn't get the best of you, so that you really have more mastery with it, I recommend you have a listen to that video. Because this energy is so significantly trying and has such a significant relationship focus, have like really pushing us to deal with your stuff, look in the mirror, look at how this, who you are being is impacting the connection and what you are taking out of the connection and the ways in which it's triggering you to heal your stuff from the past. Because this is such a magical time for, and I really use that word facetiously, sarcastically, because this is such a magical time for seeing the mirrors in ourselves. You can find that at this period of time, there's a lot of projection in the connection. And projection meaning things that have been repressed within us starting to come up and out, either directly or sideways and indirectly, but nonetheless they are there. And there can be a real woundedness, a stickiness, a pain, an underlying longing in the energies at this time. One of the things for my twins who are in some level of separation, you may notice, is a heightened experience of physical absence of your counterpart if you're in separation, and the discomfort that you feel with that particular separation would be very high at this time. With Moon opposite Venus and Chiron and the Sun in this way, this is really talking about a kind of lovelorn, long distancy, deep love yet out of reach, unmet kind of energy coming up. And because all of this sits in the sign of Aries, the work as a twin soul has to do with coming home to self, union with self, and really starting to understand, okay, what is it that I am longing for from over there? And how can I give it to myself over here? How can I self validate? How can I self support? How can I self love at this time? The ways in which you are longing for that acknowledgement from another this is the moon in which you will start to pinpoint and realize specifically how you're meant to be giving that to yourself. Even if you don't know how to yet, the ahas and the awareness will come through the pain that you're experiencing as a projection inside of the energy and the connection. For my twins who are in some form of 3D communication, some form of 3D, romantic union or business partnership, even if there is no romantic union at this time, specifically, it's the energy that's showing up here has a lot to do with recognizing how some of the woundedness that is occurring in your counterpart is also a reflection of some of your own internal woundedness, how some of the things that they may have experienced and have gone through that have shaped them and molded them and made them into who they are today, you may be able to trace in your own history and lineage. Wow, I actually had an experience like that as well. And that will allow you to have deeper compassion at this time. And the deepened compassion is very necessary because as divine counterparts, Juno and Jupiter, are still flowing in sextile together, this is giving the opportunity to come to higher levels of connection, higher levels of understanding, higher levels of awareness, and thus higher levels of union energy flowing in the third dimension for the two of you. There's still, however, however, there is still some challenges here as well. So I want to make sure that I speak to those. I talked about this a lot heading into this year, but I just want to re-reference it at this time. Of all of the energies for union between the divine counterparts, the angles they can make, the sextile is really the least harmonious. And that's 60 degrees apart from one another, which you can see they are here. We've got Juno at 23 degrees Sag. We've got Jupiter at 22 degrees Aqua. Because they're in this sextile formation, the work that it takes to create that union energy flow between the two is it's more significant. It doesn't happen on its own. There are moments in time where the universe really just kind of forces our hand in terms of the union energies between the twins. This isn't one of them. This is one where the universe kind of stands back and says, I want to see. I want to see if I don't push you two together, what do you two do with the connection? What are you willing to do in order to allow it to thrive and in order for the union energy to take hold inside of yourself, even if the other person is not available to you? That's what this full moon, not this full moon, but this union energy and this union window is giving us the opportunity to do. And this union energy has been with us since about last November, December, and it stays with us until April. April is when things start to shift, and I'll be here to report on that then. But what we want to look at for right now is the trajectory, because while many of you are doing material world 3D union stuff, forming businesses, co-parenting together, etc. Some of you are doing romantic partnership and trying to figure out, okay, how do we operationalize this connection in the material world? Others of you are doing spiritual union work, and that's really what a lot of this is about. As Aquarius is the collective energy and the conscious collective, Pisces is the subconscious collective. The collective conscious energy is hanging out where the divine masculine's hanging out. Juno is hanging out inside Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is all about learning and education, travel and growth, philosophy and our spirituality. And so, with these two hanging out in such deeply spiritual and simultaneously intellectual signs, some of what may be happening is a lot of spiritual union energy at different levels and in different ways. So, because there's a lot of sparks kind of flying in the ether between the twins, whether they're in communication or not, some of the triggering that's coming up right now may really come to you out of left field, and you'll need to lean into discernment, which will come later. It's really not available now with the Neptune Mercury conjunction. And I explain why in the general video for the Lightworker Collective. So please have a listen. What you're looking at is the triggers coming up, but not necessarily clarity about from where. Is it your trigger or is it their trigger taking place inside of your field? And unfortunately, because of the Neptune Mercury conjunction, and though specifically the way Neptune is talking to the divine feminine, and this is a square energy, the lack of clarity can really result in a lot of projection, a lot of blame, a lot of guessing instead of actual intuiting. It can result in a lot of acting out of misinformation as opposed to accuracy. So, this period of time, this is a better period of time for doing self work and internal work and our own spiritual work if the triggers are coming up, as opposed to, okay, let's you and me sit down this week, roll up our sleeves, and figure out what's the issue. This week and last week, not the time. All you were going to get during this juncture was a lot of projection and wounds coming up and out. And so you want to take the time at this moment to leverage the very spiritual energy and the thinning of the veils with Mercury conjunct Neptune for both counterparts to look in and go, okay, if triggers are up and wounds are up, there's something for me to learn here about me. And this is the time to dig into the self-work pieces about it, the co-working pieces around it, the co-creational pieces. When the two of you can kind of work together on the conversation will come. This period of time is about coming to self-consciousness first, and having conversations with your spiritual team to get the clarity you need. Okay, so let's just see what else. This union energy, like I said, maintains until April. We had a segment about it that was about coming to truth. We had a segment about it that was about standing in integrity. This particular segment with this union energy is all about getting to the root of our triggers and understanding how those triggers are impacting the connection. What are the triggers bringing into the connection that is keeping the connection at its purest energy exchange of love, or preventing the connection from being at its purest exchange in love? The more we can start to shed those triggers and shed the way that we are bringing those triggers into the connection and expecting the connection to heal them, the more we can shed those, the purer we have the opportunity to see how love really works and what it really asks us to do with our divine counterparts. Okay, so interesting thing about this, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I'll talk about it again. The divine feminine sits here in the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is normally associated, the ruling planet is Jupiter. Jupiter is the one I read it as the divine masculine, and the divine masculine energy, by the way the planets travel clockwise or counterclockwise around the wheel, the divine masculine is technically out in front. He is leading the way the connection is unfolding at this time. So as you are witnessing the unfoldment of divine masculine energy triggers, whatever they may be, and these may not be coming from a person, they may be coming from your own divine masculine energy within yourself. Where is your own internal divine masculine energy experiencing being triggered, wounded, feeling a bit thwarted in the arena of ambition or in the ability to do good by the whole? Where are you feeling thwarted in those arenas? What's happening here is the divine feminine energy, the partnership energy here is doing some retrieval work, both from the past. We talked about this conjunction with the past node, the south node in past videos. So doing some retrieval work from the past, but doing some truth seeking work here as she sits in the sign of truth and freedom. So, what there is to do as these triggers come up on the masculine side of your energy field is to leverage the feminine side of your energy field for seeking truth, seeking higher wisdom, seeking knowledge. And in doing that, while the masculine side is presenting the triggers in the connection or within yourself, in your union with self, the triggers are coming up around your woundedness, your ability to perform, to do, to create, to be, to act, all of that. While the masculine side is presenting triggers, the feminine side has the opportunity to go deep underneath and look for truth and to understand roots and to go back into the past, heal, and then come forward so that we can work in this moment with a cleaner energetic slate, one that carries less charge from the past. Okay. So, and this is what I mean by the masculine energy leading the connection at this time. And this is something that's really difficult, I've noticed, for a lot of divine feminine energies to understand. In traditional kind of twin flame, you could say, rhetoric, lore, I don't know how to put it. Many people, we have had the understanding up until now that, oh, the feminine leads this. And if you have a woman's body, you're the feminine and you're the leader. Actually, things are a bit more complex than that. We all have masculine and feminine energies. Sometimes one or the other is more dominant, but the more we come into union with self, the more integrated we become with self, the more both energies are equally influential as opposed to one dominating like the strong arm. And the second thing that's important to understand is that the energy of leading and what takes the lead has nothing to do with what your conscious mind knows and can recount. Many divine feminine intuiting twins who understand, oh, we are twins and this is what that means, doesn't make you the leader in the connection. It just makes you aware, but awareness does not equal leadership. What is leadership is when you are bringing forward the energy that and presenting the energy that in the connection we're going to work with. And so the presenter of energy at this time is the divine masculine counterpart. The divine masculine counterpart energy is the one that's bringing forward the energy that we are going to work with. They brought all the Legos, they dumped them out on the table. And now we're all looking at the Legos like, all right, okay, got it. What are we going to build? Thank you for bringing the Legos to the party. Okay. So I wanted to make sure I made that distinction because there's equal parts leadership here in both counterparts energetic fields, but it's just the positioning of the masculine energy and the masculine side being out in front, astrologically speaking, further ahead in the wheel, but then also bringing that presenting energy around triggers that's creating this, okay, you're showing me what we are going to work with at this time. And part of the reason that is because the divine feminine energy is having this conversation with Neptune, and she has been for some time. She will for the remainder of the year. This conversation with Neptune is asking her to surrender. To stop trying to control this. It's asking her to relinquish feeling like she has the answers and the direction. And that's huge. It's a big point of learning. So the reason for this is, astrologically speaking, is because we know Neptune to be the great dissolver. Neptune provides connection to the unseen world, but it does that by dissolving the veil between the worlds. Neptune's energy, when it comes around, provides, illusion, deception. It provides disillusion. It provides connection to, like I said, the unseen. And it also provides the opportunity to project. And this is neither good nor bad because projection is how we get, some of the arts, entertainment, film, TV, music. It's through the projection of spirit through the vehicle of the human body. However, projection can also be a problematic thing when we are projecting our issues, challenges, thoughts, etc., onto other people and not being accountable for them ourselves. Because of Neptune's role as the dissolver and creating dissolution and thinning of things, in the way Neptune is squaring the divine feminine, I've talked about this being an energy that can create a lot of deception. However, it can also just very simply mean the divine feminine is being asked to take a seat. In fact, take 3 seats. Sit down, take your hands off the steering wheel, stop doing, and just allow this to unfold and see what happens. Because of the way this square is occurring here and speaking so directly to her all year, this is really Neptune in the universe prying divine feminine fingers off the steering wheel of her connection. And even inside of your own union with self energy, Neptune is also saying just sit back for a minute. Use that feminine energy instead of trying to warp and twist your feminine energy into masculine energy. How about you learn deeper levels of femininity called surrender? And whatever you know about surrender, how about you take an even deeper cut at that learning and an even deeper look at what it really means to surrender? What's your next? Since you've graduated one level of surrender, now you're going to go to the next level, the advanced level of whatever your class is on surrender. So, in the connection, because of that conversation with Neptune as well, this is also why the active energy in the connection at this time is meant to be the divine masculine energy in whatever way that is presenting. Okay. So take a look inside your own connection, your union with self, and your union with your counterpart for how this is showing up. I've seen this play out in so many different ways. If you'd like to have a look at the way this is playing out for you in your connection, the twin readings are available for booking now, but as you know, they book fast. April is actually available. So rather than normally waiting, 6 weeks to get a reading, you can actually book within the next 2 to 3. So I recommend you do it fast because as the weekend goes on or the start of the week goes on, those will sell out pretty quickly. But one of the ways, and you can see the link below this video, it's just at kmoonastro.com, and then look for twin flame readings. One of the ways that this can play out is the masculine energy in yourself working to resist the connection, to shut it off. And then as a result, your body having a reaction to your masculine energy trying to resist to the connection. And in the body's physiological, biological response to that, you are now needing to utilize your feminine energy to, okay, I see what's happening. Let me get to the truth of this. Let me get into my intuition and dig in. Another way that this could play out is, the masculine counterpart, bringing forward a lot of his previous wounding from childhood, or you starting to understand and learn some of the nuances of their wounding from either their mom or previous partnerships at this time, and places where they're trying to actively protect from having those kinds of wounds come up again. You may start to see some of that rear its head at this time in your connection. Another way that this could play out between twins is inside of the masculine energy. You guys may be ready to come into union, but separated by continents And next thing you're waiting for the divine masculine's passport to become available. And if you're really actively working union with self at this time, this is a period of time where, wounds and blows to your own ego, to your own masculine energy, to your own ambition, wounds and blows to that part of you can begin to show up that have their roots in the past. And so that your feminine energy can really witness this and understand, okay, I see. This is where we need to work in terms of our healing. So that's what I mean by the masculine energy is taking the lead here, because the activity of what we are going to work on is coming through the masculine side of the connection. The feminine side is being allowed to take a seat. I even read for another woman earlier this week, and the way this was showing up for her was she had done so much spiritual work that the answer to every single question she had was take action. It's time to take action. You need to take action. You have transformed yourself spiritually, transformed yourself mentally, transformed yourself emotionally. You've done all the emotional, spiritual, psychological work you could do. There's literally nothing else for you to learn. You must, at this point, begin to transform your life. And that's what her chart was talking about, was letting her feminine take a break. She had done the feminine pieces of the work. It was time for the masculine side to step up and begin the process of transforming her life, transforming where her kids went to school, how she raised them, the partnership she had with their other parent, transform where she lived, green clean the home, upgrade the level of, upgrade the energy, the vibrational dynamics of the home with, either different furniture, different arrangement, or maybe even move, transform the way she worked and transformed her working path so that her working path allowed there to be more of a home and a container for her feminine energy. All of this was work that needed to be done on the 3D plane by her masculine life force energy. Her feminine energy could take a breather. So that's what this is talking about, is allowing the masculine side of you or your connection to present what needs work at this time, and the feminine energy to sit back and just allow it to unfold, not take it any of it personal, but just allow this to present and show up. Okay. So, if you want to have a look at your chart to understand how this plays out for you and your connection, you want to have a conversation about your connection, again, twin readings are open. Book them now. They will sell out fast. Go to kmoonastro.com and grab yours while they are still there. Okay. So, we talked about the leadership piece I got there. Let me see what else these notes say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of mirrors in relationship coming forward at this time. I believe we've talked about that. Yeah. There's lots of Eris energy too here as well. And so Eris was very present at the new moon. And that's Eris, this symbol you see up here at the top of your chart. She's this little arrow with this little circle with the down pointing arrow. Eris, Eris. Eris's energy is the energy of righteous riot, righteous rage. Anytime she feels excluded, anytime she feels belittled or pushed out, you're going to see Eris's energy come forward full force. And she doesn't come forward to have a conversation. She comes forward to wreck stuff, to like directly let you know that exclusion and disenfranchisement is not okay. And so Eris is having a direct conversation with the divine feminine, 23 degrees of both fire signs, Sag, and Aries. And then with the divine masculine by sextile, 22 degrees Aqua and 23 degrees Aries. And so because of Eris's influence at this time, and she's influencing harmoniously, thank goodness, but she's not an easy energy. one of the things that can be occurring inside of the connection is this little bit of recognition where ways in which we have excluded ourselves from our connection, where we have self abandoned in our connection. And as a result, we're trying to make the connection pay for our own self abandonment. So, I have Thais Gibson talks about this a lot, and I'll link her channel underneath this video. She's a phenomenal psychologist, and she's not a twin person, at least to my knowledge. She and I have never spoken, have never met, but she talks about how at times in our lives, people can go about the business of taking advantage of our time, our energy, can go about the business of taking advantage of our money, our resources. But the only way that they have access to being able to do that is because we were taking advantage of ourselves first. We had a part of ourselves that had needs, or that had, wanted to do certain things. And instead of doing the thing that we really wanted to do, putting ourselves in the position to have the thing we really needed, instead of doing that, we let these other parts of ourselves kind of run rampant all over our core needs. And so that set up a frequency from a spiritual perspective, now diverging from her work and talking astrologically and spiritually here, that sets up a frequency in her language, that sets up a pattern where other people can recognize, oh, yes, there's someone who's going to give me extra, and I need extra right now. But the only way the extra comes is because they're taking less. And so your agreement with your own disenfranchisement, your own exclusion, your own agreement with your own not belongingness, the ways in which you've done that to yourself at this particular time, as we move through this union window, both twins are being called upon to stop doing that, to start bringing all of yourself to the table, to leave no parts out, to make sure that you are being accountable for the little girl who's wounded in you, the teenager who rebelled in you, for being accountable for the little boy who never had the kind of love he needed, from his father or his mother, for being accountable for, that teenager who made a pact with himself to strike out and make sure that he gets his needs fulfilled in the future. We're being asked to recognize all the different parts of ourselves that maybe we've locked away and bring them home. That's what this particular union window is giving us the opportunity to do, is to bring home the disenfranchised parts within us. And that's what the influence of Eris is providing us an opportunity to do. So if you've never done parts work, that's something that can be done in the world of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. You just Google NLP, neuro linguistic programming. You can find, practitioners who will help you with that. And parts work can be particularly useful if you have a goal in mind that you want to achieve, but for whatever reason, you keep going back on yourself and not fulfilling on it. You keep finding ways to not go there. There is a part that's preventing you from going there inside of you that needs to be heard, recognized, and brought home. And you can bring those parts together in full integration and full union with the practice of neuro-linguistic programming. You can also do some of the work that Thais Gibson has inside of the Personal Development School. Again, I'll link that below, because she does do a little bit of work in helping you understand these disparate parts and helping you bring them home so that you can feel more secure in your relationships. So ultimately, that's the work with Eris talking to Jupiter and to Juno, both in harmony. Eris is trying to get you to first see where your back is up, where you feel put out, taken advantage of, excluded, disenfranchised. Recognize that, because that's helping you to recognize where you've done it to yourself and how you can reverse the pattern, reverse engineer it so that you're no longer doing it to yourself. And then people are no longer doing it to you. All parts included, all parts integrated, all parts of you in union. Once you can do that, it smooths out a lot of the process of 3D material union with counterpart. So, this is a very important time. Even if your counterpart and you aren't in communication, this period of time, these first several months of 2021, and even the last several, are giving us this chance to amplify our union energies on planet Earth, no matter the status or circumstance with your divine counterpart. So if you want to have a look at some of this stuff for yourself, just hit me up at kmoonastro.com and book a personal reading if you want to look at your own stuff, book a twin reading if you want to better understand what's going on in the connection. And it's just a beautiful time for union energies. Okay. And I'm going to stop there. There's a couple of other things here, but I think the main points, they kind of echo the main points. And if you found something that really resonated for you in this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. It's been a pleasure to read for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video or in your reading. Take great care, and bye for now.